Hey, yo, what it do? So I know y'all been hearing about the debate with Dee-1 and Big Bank. Listen, first of all, I ain't watched the whole interview. Let me just, it was too much already. Even just the social media clips that I was seeing, it was a lot. But I do want to talk about a few things that I did hear, right? The first thing I want to talk about is, can you only meet God through Christianity? Drum roll, please. No. So you don't have to be a Christian in order for God to present himself to you, or for you to even have a relationship with God. Now, here's the thing though. Jesus is the way to God. But you don't have to start there. You see what I'm saying? And so it takes me back to, was his name Jonah? The guy who got swallowed up by the whale and spit out? I think his name was Jonah. Let's just say his name is Jonah. But basically, when bro was on the boat with the people, there were other people on the ship that wasn't following like God himself. They had their own gods that they was following. And so literally when they was in the storm and like it was getting crazy and they didn't know what was going on, so they started praying to their God. And I ain't gonna hold you, they God ain't do nothing. And so they had went to bro and was like, hey, who are you? And basically like, who, talk to your God to see if he'll calm the storm. Like, cause this getting out of hand, right? And so, Lord and behold, the whole reason they was in the storm in the first place is because Jonah wasn't doing what he was called to do. I'm gonna say that right there for the next episode, cause some of y'all sitting in a storm right now. All because there might be somebody in your circle, in your camp, that's not doing what they supposed to do. They being disobedient. But anywho, literally by the end of it, right? Jonah ended up talking to God, like, and so God tell them like, hey, y'all gonna have to throw bro out to the well. And they like, I ain't really feeling that. And so the storm kept going, and it's like, all right, well, shoot, bro, we're gonna have to let you go, cause this a bit much for me. And so, boom, God literally ceased the storm. It was all good then. And that was that moment for them where it's like, yo, I'm gonna start praying to your God. Forget my God, cause I don't even know what happened over there. So I will say that you do not have to be Christian in order to have a relationship with God, or have God present himself to you. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to, pretty much convert along the way, but I'm just saying as far as like starting, no. Another thing that I heard in the video, well, let me actually elaborate a little bit more on that. So Christian is actually not a label that God had like said or came up with. It was actually introduced in the Bible, in the book of Acts. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it was the book of Acts. And so Christianity itself just relates to a label of people who follow Jesus. So when we're talking about God specifically though, God can literally like come to him, you come to him, he come to you, and y'all begin to fellowship, have a relationship. Because at the end of the day, no lie, 100, God want a relationship with you, right? And through that relationship process, he's going to challenge your heart posture, and he also going to challenge your belief system. So that way you will ultimately know that when he say he is like the light, he is the truth, like he is He is the one, which, that's what Jesus says. Jesus is a reincarnation of God. So that's why God, it's not like God is like half God, half man. No, he's all God, all man. You feel what I'm saying? So that's that part. Now, the part I want to talk about, I guess the most, is when Big Bank says that he was basically like asking, why does he need a pastor? Why does he need to go to church? Why does he need a pastor? Why does he pretty much need a middleman to talk to God? He can talk to God himself. And so I just wanted to touch on that just to hear, because the thing about it is you can and you should talk to God like on your own. When you go to church, Sunday is not enough. Like you really got to spend intentional time with God daily, right? And going to church is not about learning. Well, he was saying like, I don't need nobody to teach me how to talk to God. And so you can definitely talk to God, like, you know what I'm saying? Like however you want to talk to him, like that's cool. But I do think it is important to have a spiritual leader that's helping guide you on your spiritual journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause if we just gonna keep it 100, we don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? That's just like when it comes to, educators or, just whatever you specialize in. Like if that's somebody's specialization and that's an area that you want to grow in, of course you should seek out support from somebody else that has, that might be, not even might be, that is further along, in their journey than you are. Like that's how you grow. And so, not saying that you can't grow if you don't have a pastor or you don't belong to a church. I'm not saying that. But I do know specifically for me in my journey, I would not be where I am today. You feel me? Being able to even have, a gap ministry or even be on journeys where I'm actually helping people along their spiritual journey. Had it not been for me actually finding a great pastor in a great church to not even just like belong to, but have community with. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, there has to be some transformation that happens along the way. That's just like, in life in general, God is going to send you people along your journey that's going, their job is to help grow you and elevate you and, push you beyond, your potential and all of these things. And so, yeah, like it's good to have somebody that can really not just relate, but can help steer you in the right direction. And it sounds like when I'm hearing Bank yelling, and I say yelling because that's what it turned into, you can tell that there's some hurt somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if there's like church hurt or, and I get it. I was just having this conversation recently where there are a lot of people within the church, like itself, who has, they have all these titles and they have did people dirty. You know what I'm saying? And so for a lot of people, they do have church hurt. They do feel like, oh no, the pastor doing better than we are. And, I'm giving my money, but I'm struggling. Like, it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I get it. Like I'm grateful that I haven't experienced certain things when it comes to the church, but I've also seen like the toxicity behind the scenes of certain churches and environments in general. And it can be a lot, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, for me, I don't get deep into all like the different, titles and stuff that go on with church and stuff. And that's why I tell y'all all the time, one of the things that helped me the most on my spiritual journey was just literally having conversations with God, never worrying about what it sound like. Do I know all the scriptures? Do I like it? It ain't never been none of that. Like I literally allowed God to, That's the thing. I had a relationship with God way before I belonged to a church, way before I actually, started following Mike Todd and Dr. Darius. Like, all of these people, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, it's some people that's preaching. It's like, nah. But that's why, it's important for you to just find the right fit for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but to say, and this is to Bank personally, to say that every pastor is hustling, I just feel like that's a reach. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause there are actually people that's been called to do, like, be a pastor. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that everybody that's pastoring is called to do that, but I'm certain, just like, you know what I'm saying? I know that you've been called to do certain things. And, there are other people, even within the music industry, they ain't been called to music. They just enjoy music, so they do music. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like before you can, like, put that label out there of like, oh, all the pastors hustling. Nah. Even when you say, like, the internet pastors or whatever the internet pastors, like, whatever that mean. But if you basically saying, like, these pastors have, like, a big following, or you constantly seeing clips of them, whatever, just because you see a lot of clips of them online, that don't mean that they hustling. Like, even Jesus had a job outside of ministry. You feel what I'm saying? And so I think that'd be the part too, where a lot of people think that pastors, like, that's all they supposed to do. And it's like, for some, that's how God set it up. Like, hey, I'm going to give you this vehicle and you can, make different streams of revenue through this particular vehicle. Like, I think, like, that's okay. But again, it just depends on who we talking about and how they actually operating. And so the person that I'm actually thinking about, like, as I'm, like, pausing, I'm thinking about Darius Daniels, right? He is a pastor, but he's also a transformational coach. You know what I'm saying? He's also a speaker. So when I watch some of his content, I actually see where you can support Darius Daniels' ministry, right? And then when I'm watching a church program of his, I see the church information on the screen versus his personal information on the screen. So I do feel like there are people that actually have systems set up in place where it's like they're not actually touching the church money. The church money is the church money. But I do have a business over here where people will pay, me to come and speak and preach and do all these things that might not be associated with my church. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's just a lot of different misconceptions just because everybody's just saying different things. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, like, I do, for anybody that's listening, you know what I'm saying? I was able to go on a church tour because the church that I was watching, I was going to church online. Shoot, I don't even know how many years at that point. Oh, wait. I don't know. It was probably about 7 or 8 years. I don't know. But it took for my pastor to be like, hey, for those of y'all that's, watching online with us, we encourage y'all to get to a local church so that y'all can be around community, have fellowship, XYZ. And so I'm like, local church? I don't know. Like, I know a few local churches, but I ain't trying to go. You know what I'm saying? So that prompted me to go on a church tour. I'm like, you know what? Let me do a tour. Let me go to a new church every Sunday, and I'm going to figure out, what feels good to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I went to my first church that I used to go to a long time ago. It's called Hopewell. And, I was there. And, obviously, like, it was a familiar space, but it didn't feel like home. You understand what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, this ain't it. So literally the next Sunday, I went to Mountain West, with Pastor Mo. And it was like, this feels a little similar to the church that I attend now. So I'm like, okay, like this could be it. But I was like, nah, this still don't feel like it though. You know what I'm saying? And so literally, y'all know my favorite saying is Holy Spirit activate. So literally I'm talking to Holy Spirit, during the entire process. And so, I was in my Bible app one day, just reading the verse of the day. And I saw like a section where it's like, hey, looking for a local church. Here are some, options like close to you or whatever. And so I had never seen that before. And that's how I know Holy Spirit be working, because there'll just be random times where he'll put something in my face that was never in my face before. And you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, boom. So I had went to, the Dream Center Church of Atlanta. And so the service was great. Like the atmosphere, amazing. And so it felt like, man, okay, I think this it. And so literally, and I didn't know, Bishop Murphy is the, leader over there. And so I only know Bishop Murphy from, Praise Is What I Do. And so I didn't know though, like he was preaching, his voice never hit me that was him. I didn't know until the end of the service when he started singing Praise Is What I Do. And I'm like, my spirit felt like, yo. And so literally I thought I was going to date a little bit. Like, okay, let me pull up on you again. Let me fill you out. Let me see. And so, like I think the second Sunday I was joining, you know what I'm saying? And so I think I was there for maybe 2 years, maybe. And so I've changed church since then, but it's like, I was really grateful to stumble upon that church, because where I was in my spiritual journey, like going and just being like fed weekly. And I didn't just, like I said, Sundays are not enough. So I was actually going to Bible study. I was going to different church events that they had. Like I was constantly allowing the word and just the word to be like spoken and broken down to me to where I could really understand it and allow it to like pierce my heart. You know what I'm saying? And so and I was still watching my other church online. And so literally when I would take like sermon notes, or I would start like looking at the different Bible verses and stuff that we'll be reading in church or whatever. And I would go home with that stuff and still sit with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important. I just don't feel like you can do this walk alone. And I mean, we know that that's the whole reason why God created Eve for Adam. We was never meant to walk this journey alone. But a lot of times we choose that because, trauma and whatever else is keeping us away. But I know for sure, man, I'm telling y'all, like, my relationship with God over the years have just constantly been growing. And I know it's because of all the things that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just, like I'm spending intentional time, but I'm also going to church. I'm serving. I'm getting fed, like, spiritually. And that's the biggest thing, spiritual growth. Your spiritual journey is going to be one of the most important things that you do in your life. No lie. You feel me? So I'm like, man, Holy Spirit activate. Like, I pray that you, allow Bank to find the best spiritual leader for him that's going to actually help him continue to grow and elevate into the person that you have called him to be. You know what I'm saying? I saw how heated the debate got, and it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, for real, God just want a relationship with us. And we have to allow him to change us. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like God meet us where we at, and it's hard, y'all. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, I'd be struggling with this. I used to be a fixer. And so when I would see certain things, I'm like, I'm trying to fix versus just literally meeting people where they at and allowing them to have their process and allow God to change them. That's why we be frustrated, because we trying to take on, we think that we God. You feel what I'm saying? And that was something that I had to like sit down and learn, because that was draining me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally used to be a fixer, no lie. Like, a problem hate to see me coming. You know what I'm saying? And so it really took for me to get sat down, and I ain't had a capacity. You know, like I went from not having the capacity to not even having the desire to fix people. Like, I just wanted to fix me. And even with fixing me, I'm allowing God to do that. Like, that's been the ride, and it continues to be. So if you're looking for a church home, right? Or you even just looking like, how do I get started with God? Just start talking to him. You know what I'm saying? And I was actually on a call last night. I'm going to probably talk about this in the next episode. But one of the things that they spoke on the call was like, hey, I don't take everything to God, because I just feel like it's some stuff he don't necessarily want to hear. Like, you know, like it ain't that serious. Like it ain't that. And I was just listening to that, and I ain't even going to hold you. Sometimes when I'm in like, certain like spaces, I find I had a moment last night where I actually strunk, and I felt myself getting nervous in my stomach. And I was like, what is that about? Because I was just gonna let them know, like, yo. And I think honestly, because the host, he's a pastor, and he was the one that was saying he don't take certain things to God. He just try to speak God's word. And I was just like, I didn't want to like, not necessarily like challenge him, but it's like, this his stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so I really be trying to like, I only want to talk to the people that's assigned to me. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I feel like I missed the opportunity to just share some insight with other people that was on the call. But I'll say it here. And, you know, if I get the opportunity again to speak over there, then I'm going to just speak. I actually had somebody hit me and was like, yo, to be honest, I was waiting on you to speak, because, you know, your voice needs to be heard and you got a message. And so I was just like, man. But what I wanted to say was, there's nothing too small that you can take anything to God. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. That was something that I had to learn. Now on my journey, I'll be like, the moment I can't find Holy Spirit activate, like I'm not even finna sit up here and waste my time, cause I'm just like, I can't find the remote, Holy Spirit activate. Where are my keys? Holy Spirit activate. Where is my chapstick? Okay, Holy Spirit, show it to me. And, you know, I'm laughing because it's super small, but that's how comfortable I've gotten. Like, I can literally take anything to him. And that's, you know, I know that that's a space that you have to grow into, because like I said, that's not how I started. But I'm encouraging you, and nobody told me this. You feel me? So I feel like I'm dropping a gem on you. Don't ever feel like there's nothing that you can't take to him. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing. At the end of the day, he really want a relationship with you. I remember when I was coming up, my parents used to tell me, hey, you know, if you need to talk to me, just, you know, come and talk to me about anything. And I'm going to keep it 100. I ain't talked to them about too much or nothing. It was because we didn't have that type of relationship. So I never felt comfortable enough to bring to you what I was carrying. And that's how, you know, I feel like that's how a lot of people feel with God. Like, you can go to him and talk to him about anything, but you are not comfortable enough. You haven't learned that you can be comfortable enough. You know what I'm saying? Because some people have been taught that there's a certain type of way that you got to go to God, and you know what I'm saying? Just been taught different things. And it's like, you literally got to unlearn and forget all of that stuff that you've been told, and build your own relationship and get your own understanding of God. And so y'all see me, man, I'm always live and direct, and I'm just like, I'm a product of getting my own relationship with God. You hear me? Like, when I tell you I'm not standing on borrowed faith, the testimonies that I be telling y'all, these are actually my lived experiences. You feel me? And I'm so, you know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be a time where I didn't share. You know, I tell y'all all the time, God literally had to come to me and be like, yo, you don't talk about me enough. And I'm like, bro, what you talking about? And he like, yeah, like, you talk about me amongst your family and friends, but on your platforms, you do not mention my name. Tell people what I have done for you. And I'm just like, bro. And so, you know, like, literally, even after that conversation, I had to start figuring out how to include God on my platforms, because I didn't want to experience the havoc that come with it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to experience, her sexuality or this or that. Like, I was like, nah, I want to steer clear from that. But it was just like, I'm really glad that I actually started being obedient, because literally since then, y'all, the listeners on my podcast, we wasn't worldwide before. I'm telling y'all, man, I'm not even playing. We have people all over the world that's tuning in to Elevation Talks just to hear me talk about God, personal growth, and execution. Like, I'm literally I tell y'all my stories on purpose, because I'm like, the more I say it, the more I do it, it's freeing somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's freeing me, and so I know it's freeing somebody. And so I hope that you take the time to just know, man, you don't have to come to God a certain type of way. You can literally come as you are and just be yourself. You feel me? Like, I know you've been taught that you got to perform, and you don't have to do that with God, yo. You can literally come. He wants you to come as you are. Pastor Todd had it saying, God can't bless who you pretend to be. And I feel that. Like, you can never fully step into your assignment until you step into the identity of who you're supposed to be. And so you got to become. And part of becoming is you got to first come. Come on now. I ain't going to give them a word today, man. But yeah, man, until next time, y'all already know what it is. I'm Nate Liggins. Follow me at Nate Liggins. Yeah, email me if you got questions, elevationtalks@gmail.com. And yeah, man, we live and direct. Shout out to everybody all over the world tuning in. Y'all hit me, man. Say what's up. Until next time, I'm going to get up with y'all.
I really feel it's my time, think it's my year.